What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Today I am on my Blood Decay on the Shadowlands PTR. Today we're going to be going over the general changes to Death Knights, the changes to Blood Deathknights, their talents, and just kind of an overview of how it plays. So let's get started. Going over just like the general changes to Blood Decays, or I'm sorry, to DKs in general. We get Raised Dead back. That's awesome. So all DKs now have the ability to summon your ghoul again to help you fight. Doesn't do a terrible amount of damage, but it does something. It's definitely worth casting, and it's like a cooldown that you could add in. Doing about 100 DPS, which isn't terrible considering I'm just a tank. The other thing is we get Sacrificial Pact at level 54. So as we're leveling up in Shadowlands, we'll get this ability. All DKs get this. It's 20 runic power, and you sacrifice the soul of your ghoul to heal yourself for 25% of your missing health. But it'll be really good to have this extra heal and a 2-minute cooldown just for DKs. Nothing you need to talent into, it's just what they have. Now, the biggest change I think to Death Knights in general is the rune forging. Rune of Hysteria is one that causes you to have 20% more runic power, and your attacks have a chance to increase your runic power regeneration by 20% for 8 seconds. Razor Ice is still here. Sanguination is the new one, and I think this is more obviously a blood focus. It causes your Death Strike to deal increased damage based upon the target's missing health, so it kind of gives Blood Deathknights an execute. And when the Death Knight falls below 35% health, you get a heal for 48% of your maximum health over 8 seconds. Now that has a 6-minute cooldown, but it's still kind of another cheat death sort of mechanic. It's not going to prevent a one-shot, but getting low and being able to heal up a pretty significant amount is a good idea, is pretty awesome for tanks. Spell Warden reduces all magic damage taken by 3%, and then has a chance to create an absorb shield for 10% of your maximum health that absorbs only magic damage. Pretty solid for like a magic heavy fight. So if you know you're going into a raid boss or a dungeon that has a lot of magic mobs that just shred you apart, this might be a good idea, but I'm not sure if you would take it over Sanguination. Rune of the Apocalypse is pretty much unholy only. Fallen Crusader is the one every Death Knight uses and may continue to use. 15% strength and a heal for 6% of your maximum health is pretty solid. Stone Skin Gargoyle is one we've had for a while now. We have 5% increased armor and all stats increased by 5%. And then Unending Thirst. Now this would have been interesting, but this is basically leveling / world quests only. At first glance, it sounds awesome. It fixes your rune with a weapon that grants 10% haste and movement speed. Every DK out there with 2 broken legs knows how slow this class is. That's amazing. But it's tied to killing things. So you get 10% haste and 10% movement speed, and heals you for 5% of your maximum health when you kill a target. So maybe while you're leveling up in Shadowlands, this is the way to go. Just some extra speed out there, keeping your self-sustain going. I see that being useful. It would be cool if it granted you the 10% haste and movement speed all the time, or maybe a chance to proc it all the time, so you could use this in a different setting. Otherwise, it seems like DPS Death Knights are really just still stuck with Fallen Crusader, but I'm sure the mathematicians will figure that out. The changes to Blood specifically. Rune Tap is baseline. So that's amazing. We get Rune Tap, it's off the global cooldown, it has 2 charges, reduces all damage taken by 20% for 4 seconds. Long-term Blood Death Knights know and love this. And now going into the talents. So the talents is where things have shuffled around quite a bit for Blood Death Knights. So let's get into that. Heartbreaker is still here, works exactly the same. Blood Drinker is still here, and again it works exactly the same. 30-second cooldown, heals you for quite a bit. Tombstone is moved up from the 3rd row, consumes 5 bone shield charges. For each charge consumed, you gain 6 runic power, and absorb shield for 6% of your maximum health. So 30 runic power and a 30% shield, not terrible, on a 1-minute cooldown. Rapid Decomposition has actually changed. The Blood Plague and Death and Decay damage happening more often was baseline. However, the additional Blood Plague leeches 50% more health is added in, so that may be an awesome talent to take in Mythic Plus now. Not only is it ticking more often, but it's healing for a lot more. Hemostasis is still the same. Each enemy hit by Blood Boil increases the damage and healing done by your Death Strike by 8%, stacks up to 5 times. Consumption is back, but it deals more damage than it did before. And it does more healing than it does before. So hits only 8 enemies in front of you versus all. Welcome to the AoE cap in Shadowlands. And it heals for 150% of the damage dealt. So that's a pretty big heal if you have a decent pack in front of you. I mean, 8 enemies for that amount of damage, that's a pretty solid chunk of your HP. I only have 19k on this Death Knight, and it's very undergeared, but that's a pretty solid amount of damage and healing. Foul Bulwark is the same. Each charge of Bone Shield increases maximum health. Ossuary is exactly the same. And now we have Relish in Blood, which I believe was an Azerite talent, or Azerite trait, I should say. While Crimson Scourge is active, your next Death and Decay heals you for 144 health per Bone Shield charge, and you immediately gain 10 runic power. So you're probably hovering around 5 to 10 Bone Shield charges. So that's a decent heal for something that's just kind of happening passively all the time. I'm not sure if it's going to be worth dropping the extra runic power from Ossuary, but we'll see. Will of the Necropolis is still here. Damage taken below 30% health is reduced by 30%. Anti-magic barrier is the same. And Mark for Blood is back. This being moved here might actually make it useful and playable. Right now on live, it's a 6-second cooldown. It does almost the same thing, but it's bumped up to 3% of your maximum health. So you place this on an enemy, and when they auto attack you, you will heal for 3% of your maximum health. Now that's not a ton, but over the course of a long fight, that's a pretty significant amount of healing. So if I'm looking at healing done right now, Mark for Blood has already healed me for 3k. That's not bad. Not terrible. Especially because you can, with proper management, you can have this up on 2 targets. I would like to see maybe this last a little bit longer. It seems like kind of a boring maintenance buff. Or maybe like have it be a passive that's attached to Death Strike. You're not Death Striking too often, so maybe having this on a couple, like adding an extra healing to that might be better. It's a good utility thing, but I'm not sure how it'll hold up long term against these other two. Grip of the Dead is still here. That's the slow for your Death and Decay. Tightening Grasp is the same, and Wraith Walk is the same. Voracious is also the same. Increases. Oh, I'm sorry. This is not the same. Death Strike's healing is increased by 20% and grants you 15% leech for 8 seconds. So that's quite a bit more than what we had before. It didn't increase the Death Strike's healing prior to this. So, and then we have Death Pact down here. Now Death Pact is a new talent that we've had before. Gives you a 50% heal, so a heal for 50% of your maximum health, but then absorbs incoming healing equal to 30% of your max health. Obviously net 20% of your max health. I'm not sure how strong or useful that's going to be. It's a good little pick-me-up there to maybe like spot heal yourself. But it's kind of like an extra health stone really, because of the healing absorb. So I'm not really sure what they're trying to do with that there. Not bad, but I can't see it being better than an increase to Death Strike healing or Bloodworms. Red Thirst is buffed by 50%, so it reduces the cooldown of Vampiric Blood by 1.5 seconds per 10 runic power spent versus just 1. More Vampiric Bloods are good. Bone Storm is here, and it does the same. So Blood's talents haven't changed too much, but I think the moving of things is like definitely going to help. One of the main things that we're missing in the talent tree is Rune Strike, if you remember that from live. Now we're getting that back, but baseline in the form of Blood Tap. It consumes the essence around you to generate 1 rune. Your charge time is reduced by 2 seconds whenever a Bone Shield charge is consumed. So you don't have to be spending runes to get more of this, but so you're getting lots of extra runes for free. Theoretically, this should be off the GCD. If it is, that would be amazing. You could even if you were crafty, you could macro it to something, and that would be better. And also, Vampiric Blood is getting a rank 2, increases all healing and absorbs by 5%, and the duration by 2%. So that turns it into a 12-second Vampiric Blood, which, hey, buffs are good. Overall, I think the changes to Blood are fine. They're not super exciting. They're not, you know, nothing here is standing out as like, oh my goodness, this is wowing me. This is everything that I've ever wanted. I think my main issue with Blood Deathknight is just the pace of it. Until you get a pretty significant amount of haste, it just feels slow and clunky, and like there's no big moments for Blood at all. You know, there's no flashy like throwing your shield. There's nothing really going on. I mean, even the animations are kind of relatively dull in comparison to even the other two Death Knight specs and a lot of the tanks. So not so great. There's a lot of healing going on here, obviously, for those tanks that really like that. I think personally I've missed Blood Deathknight when Deathstrike just costs runes. Having to build up runic power to then hold it and then wait and save isn't super fun, to be completely honest with you. But, you know, that's me, that's my personal opinion. A lot of people love Blood Deathknight. I used to, but I haven't really enjoyed the changes as much. So that's just me. Overall, I think it's a solid tank. It doesn't feel terrible to play. Again, when you're in a dungeon and you're death striking all the time and you're running around and have all this healing, you feel that really hefty self-sustain, and that's what feels really great about Blood. But I don't think that it has that wow factor. I think it's lost a lot of that. And while you do feel sturdy and strong sometimes, as soon as the mobs cross that threshold of being a little bit too powerful or just hitting really, like, it feels like you're just getting punched into the dirt. Now, a lot of these talents can fix that. I mean, consumption is good to heal things back up, but I'd like to see maybe some more mitigation options within the talent tree. I know it's sticking to that general theme of Blood where it's like, okay, take a lot of damage, but you heal a lot. But Demon Hunter does that also, and I think that they have better mitigation tools on top of it, ways to increase their armor, things of that nature. It's just, I wish there was something where it picked up the pace just a little bit. Maybe Bone Shield, when you lost a charge, could generate some runic power. Maybe Bone Shield, when you lost a charge, could speed up runic regeneration. Something, like some sort of interaction with the spec, so it doesn't feel like the only proc or interesting thing that goes on is the occasional free death and decay. That's kind of the big deal. It's like, you know, Paladin gets their shield resets, Prot Warrior gets shield slam resets also. You know, Demon Hunter doesn't necessarily get like resets, but they have like a very fast play style. I just wish there was something else here for Blood that would give them some pace and some spice. And I think Blood DKs have been asking for that for a little bit. So that's my review of Blood. It feels good still, but it's definitely not the most fun tank. I'll be going over the other Death Knight specs soon. Just so you guys know, I do stream every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday on Twitch. I'm going to be starting work again soon, but I'm going to be doing YouTube full-time coming Shadowlands. So I appreciate you guys that have subscribed recently. If my subscribers have tripled in the last week or so, so I really appreciate you guys. Thank you. Link to my Twitch is down in the description below if you guys are interested. We can have some more class discussion. That'd be great. I will catch you guys in the next one.